So this question is a gate. So again, just it's not built on our typical squares. Okay, so it's based on a series of sort of rectangles and grids that we're going to have to produce in order to get the outline, and then we'll go back and we'll have it in. So the first one we're going to look at, well, what's the width? So the width is 150 and the height is 160. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pick a point around about here. There's loads of space. Okay, and I'm going to mark 150 wide. Okay, so I left probably 20 or 30 there. That should give me enough space. And I know I need 160, so I don't know what I came down there, but I can see that I have loads of space there for 160. So typically what I would do is I draw a rectangle in which to fit the object into. So basically my gate is going to fit into that red rectangle there. So it might look a bit square in the drawing, but it's 150, this way 160, so technically it's a rectangle. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to mark these distances here. So basically they're 20 from each side, and then every centimetre every 10 millimetres apart. Every single number after 2 up to 13 I'm going to put a mark, and that's basically all the marks for this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw all them lightly up. Now I'm going to just use a pink. Actually probably should have started with a pink because it's a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to heavy over. I'm going to draw them. So they're basically the wider piece of timber at the right and left hand side, and then there's a series of slats and the gaps for the fence. So the thinner bits of timber in the middle. They usually do that to sort of make it a little bit cheaper. Okay. So we're happy enough with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure up my distance to 20. I'm going to measure up my distance to 10. And then I'm going to measure up 80. So 80 and 20 and 10 is 110 and 10. And then I have another 20. But you could also just go 20, then move up 10, then move up 80. Whatever you find easiest. My way is a little bit more accurate, but whatever you find easiest. Now, I'm not going to, I can draw this over the full width if I want, but technically it's only between here. So you can see them there, they're not going. So I'm just going to use the marks that I have here on the side, but I'm not going to draw them onto this. Now it doesn't really matter, but it's just for the sake of me being able to see it. But I am going to draw this one here. Okay, the full way across. Now it doesn't matter if you draw them the full way, just as long as we don't heavy them in too far. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heavy in what I know. Okay, so the bits really that I haven't figured out now are the top spikes, for want of a better word. But at this stage, it's a good idea to sort of heavy in what I have. Right, and the most common mistake that people make at this stage, I'm going to do all the vertical ones first, is that they accidentally forget a gap. Okay, but actually with this, it's every single one of these will still be heavy. So it's handy to do the vertical ones first. And the other reason why it's handy to do the vertical ones first is, hopefully this is coming out black enough, this marker seems to be wasting time, is because the horizontal ones don't go through every single one, whereas the vertical ones do. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to switch to a slightly better black marker. Yeah, that's a bit better. And I'll come up here, and I'll come up here. And I'm just going to heavy in this bottom and this bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to heavy these. So it's basically the first gap after the 20 mil, and then it's every second one. This is where you just need to be careful that you don't accidentally heavy the wrong one. You can always use a rubber to fix it. Now I probably should have worked from the top down, only for the reason that my markers can be a little bit inky and can smudge underneath. So I'll do this one that way. Okay, so it's every second one. And we do the same here. Okay, quite happy with that. I should have also heavied these ones here. So again, just be careful which ones should be heavied. Okay, and the last thing I have to do is just the pointy tip. So obviously they're pointed maybe to stop someone gaining access or getting across. So for this one here, it's easy. It tells us 10. Right? I can measure 10 in on this side and then measure 10 in. And I'll just twist around my set square and I'll join that up. And there's my spike. So again, apologies, my marker sort of smudged a little bit there. Okay, it's just the ink takes a little while to draw. Now, there's two ways that you could do the next part. You could use the measurements that they give. So they say once you have that bit, go 25. But what I'd actually do is go between the two lines that I have. So if that's there, I'd mark the 5 in between. Now really I should have brought my pink right the way up to the top. Okay, and now I have my series of points. So they should be halfway across this. So really, okay, just to show it better, I should have brought these lines up just that little bit extra just to make sure that they're in the middle. And again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join them. I just have to be careful that I join them to the right point. Okay, so a little bit of care is needed here. So I'm going to do all the ones sloping this way. It'll make it a little bit quicker. Okay, and turn around. And we'll do all the ones sloping this way. Okay, but that's the question done. So we're happy enough with it there. So we'll just get a colour pencil and we'll do a little bit of shading. So I'll see if I have brown or maybe a yellow. If I'm doing a brown, I don't want to do it too heavy. I'll go with a brown because it's sort of the typical timber. For those of you that do woodwork, for this typical colour that you'd use for timber. So we're not spending a long time on it. It's not colouring in. It shouldn't be heavy. The way you can see my pink lines coming through this should be the same on your drawing. You should be able to see your light lines that you use for your construction. Examiner should be able to see them as well. And at the same time, it shouldn't be an exercise that takes an awful long time. Now, as I said before, you can use your set square put up against it just to help them when you're shading that you don't go. If I put it this way, might make it a bit easier. That you don't go too far. Okay. Now, if you want, maybe we'll just use a yellow. All the way here, a sort of peachy colour, just for something a little bit different for the cross threads. Okay, that's quite a dull colour actually, but just a standard actually. Okay, question done. So that's the first one done. So we're happy enough with that.